Everyone laughed at him. Not once, not quietly. They laughed every time he walked past. At 17, he had no money, no land, and no one standing behind him. People didn't just doubt him. They were already sure how his story would end. In their minds, he was finished before he even started. They said it openly. This kid won't last. He'll be back begging. Give a year, he'll disappear. He heard all of it. What they didn't know was that he was listening, not reacting. While they were laughing, he was studying. While they were talking, he was deciding. And while they were predicting his failure, he was quietly building a plan no one bothered to understand. Being forced out of home at 17 did not break him. It stripped his life down to nothing. And when you have nothing left, every small decision suddenly matters. He worked the hardest jobs nobody wanted. Dirty jobs, cold jobs, jobs that barely paid enough to survive. At night, he lay awake in a small rented room, staring at the ceiling, replaying every insult and every laugh in his head. Then one day, something small happened. Not dramatic, not impressive. He stopped walking. On the edge of town, in a forgotten scrapyard, sat an old tractor that didn't even run. Rusted, leaking, missing parts. The kind of machine people walked past without a second look. That was the moment people laughed the hardest, because this broke teenager, who couldn't even afford stability, was thinking about that tractor. What they didn't understand was simple. He wasn't trying to look smart. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was trying to survive without asking permission. And that decision, the one everyone mocked, was the beginning of everything they would later pretend they saw coming. The laughter followed him everywhere. At work, on the road, even in silence, he could feel it. People didn't laugh because they were cruel. They laughed because it was easy, because they had already decided who he was and how his story would end. When he finally spoke to the scrapyard owner, the man raised an eyebrow. A broken tractor. Old, useless, missing parts. It hadn't moved in years. The price was $100. Not a discount, not a favor. Just a number that felt heavier than it should have. $100 was almost everything he had. People told him not to do it. Some warned him gently. Others mocked him openly. They said it would never run. They said he didn't even know how to fix machines. They said he should focus on finding real work. He listened to all of it. Then he paid the money. Getting the tractor home was humiliating. Borrowed chains. A slow tow on back roads. Cars passed by. People stared. A few laughed again. He kept his eyes forward. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. When he finally parked the tractor inside a small, empty shed on rented land, he didn't celebrate. He stood there quietly, looking at it. Rust, oil stains, cracked hoses. This wasn't hope. This was responsibility. The first nights were brutal. He worked all day and repaired the tractor at night. His hands were always dirty. Cuts and burns became normal. He borrowed old manuals from libraries and listened carefully to farmers who remembered machines like this when they were new. Some nights, nothing worked. The engine refused to turn. Other nights, it ran for a few minutes and died. Each failure felt personal. Each breakdown felt like proof that everyone else had been right. But he kept going. He learned to listen to the engine, to feel vibrations, to spot problems early. He learned patience the hard way. Rushing repairs only made things worse. Weeks passed, then months. The tractor didn't become perfect. It became usable. That was enough. He started offering small jobs, the kind no one else wanted. Narrow fields, overgrown land, long days for little money. He charged less because he needed the work, not because he lacked confidence. The tractor broke often. He fixed it every time. Each repair taught him something. Each job paid a little better. Each week, he saved a little. Not much, but enough. People stopped laughing as loudly. They still didn't believe in him. But they noticed he showed up. He finished the job. He didn't complain. He didn't quit when things went wrong. By the time he turned 20, he was still poor, but he was no longer invisible. The laughter faded into quiet curiosity. And without realizing it, the plan everyone mocked had begun to work. The laughter did not stop all at once. It faded slowly, The way noise does when people realize something is changing and they do not want to admit it yet. The tractor kept working, and so did he. Day after day, job after job, small fields, old land, work that paid little but taught a lot. He learned how soil behaved after rain, how timing mattered more than speed, how fixing a problem early saved weeks later. Money came slowly, but it stayed. He did not spend it to look successful. He spent it to stay alive. Better tools, spare parts, fuel, nothing more. Every decision was quiet and deliberate. He remembered too clearly what it felt like to have nothing. By the time he reached his early 20s, people no longer laughed when they saw him coming. They watched instead. Some asked questions. Others asked for help. The same people who once mocked his plan now trusted him with their land. He was still poor, but he was reliable. And reliability travels faster than reputation. One season, he leased a small piece of land. It was not good land, uneven soil, low yield, and ignored by everyone else. But he treated it with care. He worked it early in the morning and late into the evening, using the same tractor people once called useless. The work was slow. The results were modest, but the land responded. Another year passed. Then another. He bought a second tractor. Still old, still used, but stronger. Buying it felt different this time. It was no longer desperation. It was earned confidence. The plan people laughed at was no longer a joke. While others borrowed money to grow fast, he waited. He watched neighbors struggle with payments. He watched good land get sold because of bad timing, and he stayed patient. He knew exactly what rushing cost. Land came one piece at a time. Small fields, manageable risk, no debt. The original tractor was still there, repaired many times. Louder now, slower than new machines. But it ran. It always ran. And every time he started it, he remembered the day people laughed the hardest. There were hard years. Weather destroyed crops. Equipment failed at the worst moments. Some nights he wondered if choosing the slow path had been a mistake. But he never went backward. By his 30s, he owned his land outright. No loans, no pressure, no one telling him what he had to do next. His life was simple. His work was steady. His mind was calm. People called him successful. Some even called him lucky. He never corrected them, because luck had nothing to do with it. What they had laughed at was not a broken tractor. They laughed at patience. They laughed at discipline. They laughed at a plan that did not look impressive in the beginning. And that was exactly why it worked. By the time he reached his 40s, there was nothing left to prove. His days were quiet now, predictable in the best way. The pressure that once followed him everywhere was gone. He worked his land at his own pace, chose his jobs carefully, and avoided anything that would pull him back into chaos. People sometimes asked why he did not grow faster, why he did not buy newer machines, why he did not take bigger risks. He never explained himself. He had learned that the loudest answers usually came from the weakest decisions. The land gave him what he needed. Not excess, not luxury. Enough to live without fear. Enough to handle bad seasons. Enough to sleep without worrying about debt. The habits he learned when he was poor never left him. He repaired what he owned. He wasted nothing. He planned carefully. Even when he could afford more, he chose stability instead. The old tractor was still there. It sat in a separate shed, clean and maintained, even though it was rarely used now. To anyone else, it was outdated equipment. To him, it was a reminder. It marked the moment he stopped reacting to life and started directing it. Sometimes younger farmers came to him for advice. They expected tips about money or machines. He usually spoke about patience instead. He told them that speed looked impressive, but discipline lasted longer. He warned them that debt took peace long before it took land. As years passed, his name came up in conversations without him being present. Quietly, respectfully, not as someone flashy or famous, but as someone solid, someone who had done things the hard way and survived. He never chased recognition. He never needed it. In the end, his story was not about a tractor. It was about control, about choosing work over anger, patience over pride, time over shortcuts. Everyone laughed at him in the beginning, They laughed at the broken tractor. They laughed at the slow progress. They laughed because they could not imagine success that did not happen quickly. What they never understood was simple. The plan was never to impress them. The plan was to outlast them. And that was exactly what he did.